Once in a while, the blast furnace is tapped, and you see, whoo. You see the sparks rising high. The lake stretches out, Lake Michigan, that is. Lake Michigan is the only lake in America you can actually walk on. The water is so polluted, they have signs in front of the lake there. It says, "Do not light matches in this area." You throw a lighted match in Lake Michigan, and I'm telling you, it's going all the way up to Canada. Giant blowtorch. And there I was, a kid, growing up. You'd smell the lake at night. You could, by the way, the lake had a very particular smell in Indiana, because once in a while a great big bubble would come to the surface. Some mysterious noxious gas. Bloop. Yeah, you'd stand there and watch the lake. I would see. The air would shimmer for a moment. God knows what it was that gave that gas up. And under what circumstances. Bloop. And you'd smell it. I'm laying in the sack there. Temperature 112, 115. Of course, it's cooled off. It's evening now. The Chicago White Sox have dropped their 23rd straight game. And the sky is a brass color, except over the steel mills, where it's a rust color. It's the only place where the sky rusts. All that blast furnace dust hangs in the clouds there, and it rains, and it gets rusty. Simple. So, you know, when people talk about pollution, and they talk about the Raritan River, I once saw the little Calumet, which comes right out of Lake Michigan. It's like a drain sump at the bottom of a colossal cosmic septic tank. It's a great image, isn't it? A river that's attached to a septic tank. I mean, picture it. And picture the people living on the shores of it and going down there fishing at night. God, can you imagine what kind of fish you'd catch in a septic tank? There are fish in there. Little green things with... It's the only tanks... Only fish I ever saw that had snorkels. Now, many of you didn't come thinking you would hear this. I could see several ladies in the audience already. I can just read them lips. John Gambling never talks like this. And I remember as a kid, that first kitchen. Temperatures, 105. Got linoleum. Blue and yellow. That was its original color. Its now current color is linoleum color. That had this zinc strip that ran around it. Where the linoleum hooks together, they tack the zinc down there. Every once in a while, my old man would come in and he'd catch his shoe in the zinc. He'd say, "Goddamn zinc!" One night I saw him, in a fantastic fit of rage, grab the zinc and just run around pulling it up. My mother says, "The linoleum won't stay down." He said, "The hell with the linoleum!" And just then the linoleum rolled right up. Caught my kid brother in it, rolled him all the way to the John. Don't laugh, you sadist. You're laughing at human misery. Listen to him, that's sickening. And my mother, hot. She had this Chinese red chenille bathrobe. And it was rump sprung down in the back. On the lapel, see? That was a mother combat badge. And she always had her hair up in these aluminum rheostats. All little rheostats all over her head, you know. Her hair was always up. I remember once in a while, somebody in the house would ask her, Mom, why you put your hair up? She says, you never know when something might happen. Never did. She is still in Indiana with her hair up. And she'd stand over the sink. And boy, that sink was fantastic in the summertime. At the sink, the old man is sitting at the kitchen table. We had one of these white enamel kitchen tables with the, you know, with the little chips all around it. Had this drawer in the middle you put all the crap in, you know. Mysteriously, somebody saved 3 empty spools, string, a broken scissors, half a deck of cards, 2 clothespins. It was all packed up. Nobody opened it anymore. If you open it, it's going to leap out, you know. It just stayed there. And if you put your nose real close down, right on the surface of that table, and sniffed, it smelled like the vomit of thousands of kids. Now, wait a minute, gang. That is, I grant you, in bad taste. You ever had a sneaking suspicion that so is life? You'd smell it, see? My mother had this endless rag moving over it. Every couple of days, my kid brother would spill out used Campbell's tomato soup on it. That was one of his weapons. He could do it at will. Oh, you know. My mother would say, there, you did it again. Then he'd pause and whoop. Up would come a Twinkie. He always kept the Twinkie for last. And in case of real emergency, you should see what he could do with used fig bars. By the way, how many of you in this crowd are secret fig bar fans? Oh, I'll tell you, the Fig Newton crowd is a small but dedicated crowd with a monkey on their back that is lifelong. Whore, whore. Oh, I like a Fig Newton. By the way, maybe many of you don't know, though, that the fig, the Egyptian date fig, when it is in a state of creation, is created by a tiny moth that flies inside the fig and pollinizes that poor little fig flower. And then the flower closes up. There's the little moth caught in there. He gives his life to the fig. And that means every time you eat a fig, there must be 5,000 dead moths in them Fig Newtons. Wait till Ralph Nader hears of that. You didn't? Now, I'm telling you a botanical truth, gang. I'm not inventing this. These are the things you live, learn, work with over a lifetime of travail. And I can see my mother over the sink. It's that hot summer day. In the distance, you could hear the muttering of the steel mill, a flash of flame in the sky. The old man has come home from work. And by the way, on a day like this, my father had a special technique for coming home from work. He has been at the office all day long. The office has been maybe 250 degrees. He's been driving the Oldsmobile home. And by the way, our Oldsmobile normally indicated 212 degrees. It's the only car I ever saw that boiled over when the temperature was 40 below. Boom, the wood goes up. The old man hated his car. He also loved it. That love-hate relationship that many people feel for their mates. One lady has just fallen to the floor there in hysterics. I know what side has got the better in her crowd. Love and hate constantly battles it out. And my mother standing over the sink. I see this on a hot night like this. She's getting ready for supper. Now, on a hot night like this, she had a specialty called Salmon Salad. You know, big can of salmon, it's red salmon, and you'd sit there and pick backbone out of it. She mix it up with onions, a little vinegar, salt, and pepper. Put it on some Indiana lettuce, which, by the way, is the only lettuce that can be reused. Inedible, but it looks great. They just wash it off, use it again tomorrow. The old man is squatting at the kitchen table. It's been a bad day at the office. He has just come in, his typical hot weather way. The way he came in, you could hear him running up the back steps of the back porch. Dunk, 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 dunk. Then you'd hear dunk, 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 dunk across the back porch. The screen door flies open and his shirt comes in. By the time he hits the refrigerator, which was halfway through the kitchen, he is down to his jockey shorts. He would hit the John running. You'd hear a lot of water splashing. He'd come out, he's got his underwear on. The only guy I knew who could make jockey shorts look like they were missing a button. Life was real for my mother. He didn't give a damn. He'd come in, squat down. He'd open the refrigerator, reach in, get a can of Blatt's beer. That's a special beer brewed for Chicago White Sox fans. It's an angry, muttering beer. You know the beers that always say light? The beer that you should drink when you're having more than one. If you could make it through the first Blatt's beer, it was the greatest beer that I've ever heard of or seen for burping. He'd grab a Blatt's. He used to like to take the can and shake it. This is his first beer of the day, and he'd chug a lug it. My mother's hanging over the sink. The meatloaf is on. He's got the sport page out in front of him. White Sox drop pair to Cleveland. Now, it's almost impossible to lose a ball game to Cleveland. And the headline underneath it would read, Luke Appling drives out of park 2 tape measure fouls. By the way, a tape measure foul, if you don't know what that means, that is a moment of triumph for a White Sox fan. And he'd sit there, drink his beer. My kid brother's on the other side of the table, playing with his food. My kid brother did not eat until he was 7. He played with his food. Just play with the food all the time.